Some people on Twitter actually do that. They like twice the time. Right. You're here. I was gonna have David Lewis on today, but he is MIA, so you're stuck with me. Can you hear me? Go back here. All right, let's see what we got. I got Yorin in the Discord room. If you want to talk, Yorin, you're more than welcome to. So David was going to show us, he's been working on doing the gears in the, actually doing involute gears in the MMX and all of those things. So hopefully we're going to get him at some point. In the meantime, I had this bright idea that we could upload the detailed files from the, excuse me, beer 30 here. We could upload the detailed files that I got just been finished by the normal CAD team, and
you're echoing, by the way.
Bring those into SolidWorks and process them. But I just tried uploading content here. I downloaded like the Rhythm Machine beaters as an IGES file, and it doesn't like that. So we're going to figure out another way to do that. So I'm going to go File, Open from this PC. Hopefully that will work. Maybe we can, instead of adding it directly to the online whatever, we can open it in SolidWorks and then save it. Hopefully that will work. All right, Yorin, thanks, man. Now the idea was that we would bring the Fusion files into SolidWorks. I'm doing that with an IGES because it preserves the assembly features. It doesn't just all have the individual bodies. But I don't know if we want to run import. Let's do this. Let's see how import diagnostics works from Fusion.
Can you hear me?
Got a bunch of faulty faces. I'm not going to mess with that. let's just deal with it. Whoops.
Tim, can you hear me?
Get my Space Mouse out. Hey, Fabian.
Tim?
So first of all, if we were going to recreate this part, I mean, the idea would be not to just bring in all the IGES parts and assemble them in SolidWorks, which would be easier than doing this humbly in Fusion. But the idea is, if we, at least this is what David and I were talking about, which was that if you are going to, well, let me back up. So we were talking about the structure of the skeleton and how we organize everything. And let me go into the platform. And it was obvious to me that when you look at the bookmarks, and this is kind of the way that SolidWorks does it with the online platform, it takes a while to load. Bookmarks editor, either way, it takes time to load. It makes sense to me that the way that Fusion works with its bookmarks is very compatible with the PBS system numbering. So if we go into over here, MMXT, I have numbers for all of the different kind of modules. And if you go into base, then you have the next 2 digits of the PBS number for these things. And so we can create a structure where you basically have oh, okay, thanks, Jordan. But anyway, so that we can have basically a master assembly we can have sub-assemblies, we can have sub-sub-assemblies, and all of the parts are in those sub-sub-assemblies. We have no parts in that. And the challenge that we were thinking is that for the main assembly file, there would be reference geometry in that file. That's just enough reference geometry to locate the modules, and then the modules would have just enough reference geometry to locate each of the subassemblies within those, and then the subassemblies would have their own reference geometry. So we wouldn't have any weird interdependencies in terms of if you were to lose the skeleton or to open a subassembly outside of the context of all the assembly levels above it, that it would all still work. So anyway, so that's kind of the idea. Let's see if I can import an IGES file, new. That's going to take a little bit. Or is it?
Tim.
Oh, here we go. New assembly. Okay. File. We'll save it. Save it with options. I need to know what PBS number that is. I'm definitely afraid of not being able to resave it. All right. Why can't I spell rhythm? Rhythm machine. All right, we'll play with the rest of the names now. File. Can I import an IGES into? Come on. Oh. It's making me log in. I have this great thing. I have a great, really long password, which I'm not going to show you. So it's a pain when it logs me out. I'm going to do this on my other monitor. I'm not using your password, guys. All right, I'm going to ignore that. Isn't this great when we have I don't know if Jorn may not have Discord sound on.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Hello?
All right, wait for the command to finish. This is interesting. I've never seen this before. I think it pumped that up because I have the I changed my workspace here.
You can hear me.
Interesting.
Okay, that's a good thing.
Still not David
Well,
Lewis. So, by the way, since David is not here, if anyone wants to hop in and keep this from being a conversation between me and myself, that would be sweet. And the guys who are here with me at Inventopia are laughing at me. There are people on the channel. Just no one's in audio with me, and so I feel like I'm talking to myself.
you're not, seriously. I am talking to you, but you don't hear me.
And Guju, no, I can't hear you anywhere. SolidWorks, you're killing me. All right. Welcome to ADHD Engineering, watching loading wheels, drinking beers, having fun on a Friday. I'm watching SolidWorks crash. The sad thing is that you're watching me watch SolidWorks crash, which is even less exciting. Yeah, we're going to restart. Yeah, SolidWorks error reporting. Look, even the error report is not responding. I crushed you, SolidWorks. Eeps.
Nelson, do you hear me?
All right.
Hello.
If he doesn't hear you either, then there is something wrong with this audio.
I will. Okay, Thomas, and I'm glad you're entertained by my strife. But so Jorn, if you want to be able to watch loading screens and drink beers, you need to be an entrepreneur. That's the way it works. You know, when you don't have a boss, you can't. No one can tell you when you can and can't drink beer. I'm going to delete all that stuff. Delete the backup files. All right, let me check out the Discord audio thing. Guju is not muted. So
blah 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 blah.
Or Jugu. That sounds. I don't know. You may not have permissions to talk in that channel. I don't know. Maybe you have to click on the grinder wheel thing. I've had other people not be able to talk in this channel. It might be that if you don't have yeah, it might be something like that. All right, so file, new, assembly. All right. I have 2 screens, 3 windows open, and I still can't see OBS, SolidWorks, Discord, and the YouTube comments. So if I miss something for a second, then that's why. I have my speakers set up wrong. All right, I'm moving on. So where were we? SolidWorks is where we were. Okay, so assembly
He's not
1,
even trying.
file. I do not see import. Maybe if I save it. All right, so insert. Maybe I insert a pump. Insert new assembly. Oh, I'm going to try this again. Machine beers. That didn't work. Insert components. See, that is bringing up this thing. So it's not wanting to look for things that are on my computer. Options. Jorn, you're going to have to tell me how to import a an IGES, because I only see ways to open it. Open from this PC, downloads, this guy. Okay, Jordy, tell me. I see you're trying to talk, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm not hearing anything. And normally when like David gets in this room, I can hear him just fine.
Hello, can you hear me?
All right.
Yeah, I think he can't.
Yeah, I think it's on his side.
Mm-hmm, it definitely is, but he doesn't want to take a look at it, I think. So, does he have any experience with SolidWorks?
I can run import diagnostics on this thing.
Sorry?
Does he have experience
No,
with SolidWorks?
still the same thing.
I think so, but
All right, so I think what I want to do though is change all of this stuff so I can see it without it being and I want edges so I can see this thing better. I can restart Discord maybe. Oh, you know what? The issue might be that I'm also logged into Discord on my laptop. All right. I just quit Discord
Here we
on
go.
my laptop. I'm going to restart Discord here. All right,
Blah.
can you guys hear me?
You might want to reconnect.
Anybody? Nope. Hey, I tried, man. I tried as hard as I could. So the question is going to be, moving on from troubleshooting audio technical difficulties, is how do we bring parts into SolidWorks? My thought is that we want to create reference geometry, and we want it to be, if you reconnect, I will do that, friend.
Always tell us on our drawing. Like, easy enough that someone does anything about it.
Hello?
All right, now somebody say something.
Ah, la, 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 la. Can you still not hear me? Ba 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 ba.
You have unmuted you.
It would be so funny if his speakers are just off.
Do not know what the issue is, guys.
It triggers me so much. God damn it.
I'm trying to send him private messages, but I don't know if
that's
he will.
weird. Someone else say something?
La 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 la.
That's funny. I see it in desktop audio. The speakers are messed up.
Oh yeah.
I knew it.
My speakers, the desktop audio is coming through. It might actually even be playing on YouTube. It might be that the audio is coming through YouTube too. Try again.
La 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 la.
Somebody, Brandon,
Yeah.
muted the speakers on this machine.
I knew it. I knew it.
So.
Oh, I'm
So, you've been watching Tim Keller playing with audio settings on his SolidWorks PC. So the reason that happened is that this is not my SolidWorks PC. The way that I have arranged my life, I have this massive workaround to the problem of me wanting to amass a huge amount of tools. So I started and I run a business incubator that specializes in life science and robotics and engineering and stuff like that. And so I got to build a brand new CAD machine, but it's for the incubator, which means people like Brandon get to get on this machine as well and design their robots and things. So sometimes settings change. My apologies.
Okay.
Well, so what are you currently trying to do?
Well, so it's a shame that something must have happened with David. So I was chatting with David Lewis during the week last week, and last week we had gone and we were starting to do the skeleton for the MMXT, and we were kind of going back and forth because they're like, we're not really designing the frame because the frame design could change. We should really design the functional things and design the frame around that, right? Rather than starting with the frame, right?
Speaking about the frame, yeah. I have done some work myself, and I have built the frame inside of SolidWorks, just as a small mock-up. If you want, cool. I could send you those files.
A frame nerd, yeah. Well, I think we'll do that.
How do you want me to send those files?
Well, let's figure that on. I'll PM you my some information. Let me.
Great. Okay.
Yeah. Let me add.
I will. It's in a custom. Do you know how weldments work in SolidWorks?
Yep.
Okay, that's great because it's a custom SolidWorks library file as well as the weldment profile.
Cool.
And the frame is also called up to the what's the name again? The PBS.
Okay. Yeah, so the idea was not necessarily, we weren't really trying to design the frame as we were trying to create a really robust skeleton and the reference geometry that we can use to make the frame. Right?
Right.
Because the tempting thing to do is to start the thing by building the frame and then hang things on that. But then if other components work, which then means that you would want to edit the frame, then you have dependency issues, right? So
so what you want is you want the frame to morph to your parts.
Right. So that's what we were saying. Like if we made a good starting skeleton where we just had the major control points, like the locations of the transverse shafts, the things
the drum.
Exactly, like just the points of the critical stuff, right? And all that was parametric, and we had variables that called it out. Then we could make a machine where we could adjust those things easily, and it wouldn't totally break the model, right?
Well, it's an idea, but when you're talking about 10,000 parts, it's gonna break somehow after, like
right. And
like when you only have the skeleton, I get it if you make it parametric, but when you're adding like small parts and braces and doodads and then another plate here,
Yeah.
when you're then suddenly going to start to edit your parametric sketches, then it will break, because if you want to make something parametric, you have to make it parametric all the way.
Right. And that's exactly why we're doing this. I mean, we're given that you and I've been using SolidWorks, and again, I'm not like, I never took a class, whatever. I used it for my last job. I made a lot of my own equipment, but I am totally self-taught, and I've made industrial machinery that I've sold for almost $100,000 with it.
Correct. Oh, jeez.
I'm not a pro. Oh, I guess I have done it for a living, so maybe, I mean, you know what I mean. Like, I'm not a certified SolidWorks expert. I've learned, self-taught it. I've figured out what I needed to do, and that's it, right?
Well-
But knowing that, and knowing that I have really badly broken some of my designs when I'm not careful, and knowing that we're going to be redoing the Marble Machine X with even more people, right? We're going to have, because we have 20 seats for SolidWorks connected for this project.
Oh, I really want to be one of them.
I'll stick
That would
around,
be
man.
awesome.
That's how you get it. And yeah, anyway, so we wanted to be basically anal retentive about how good of a job we do setting up the features, the how the references work, and what our workflow is, so that we can avoid breaking things to the greatest extent possible, right? It's going to be a project once we start doing and again, the idea here is that we're designing the touring version of the Marble Machine X. But in order to get even there, I taught myself on SolidWorks 2011, and now SolidWorks has this 3D experience, and that's what we've been given. By SolidWorks, they've sponsored this work, and
Oh, they did.
They did.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
By the way, I just sent you a DM with those frame files.
Sweet. Thank you.
You know how to import
a RAR
custom weldment profiles?
No, but I'll figure it
out. It's pretty tricky if you don't know. It's like file order systemed. It needs a certain amount of files for it to work.
Okay.
It's pretty annoying, but we could do this first.
Yeah. Anyway, what was I saying? Anyway, so the conversation with David Lewis was that maybe we should start because the detailing process is going on right now for all the Fusion files. And since there's, a handful coming in every week, we're going to be able to, it might be better to just assemble the existing MMX in SolidWorks so that we have an idea of, what we're working with. The other thing is when you're looking at the environment, the SolidWorks 3D Experience platform, like I have a bunch of bookmarks in here, but there's no parts in it. These things are all empty, and so when it's hard to learn something when you don't actually have any data or any working parts in the project to work with.
Do anything with.
Yeah. So the idea was the first step would be to bring in things, basically bring in the studio version of the Marble Machine, and see if that's a pain in the butt or not. And
it's gonna be.
I'm expecting so, yeah. But
that's me saying a 90-year-old with 2 years experience. It's gonna be a pain.
You're a 90-year-old? You sound quite young for a 90-year-old.
Yeah, I know. I have still the high voice. Well, I have spent it myself just for fun, getting, what was it again? 12 hours straight, a grid of lines for a tennis racket for a present I wanted to 3D print. That was pain. I needed to add relations because I didn't want to be the sketch undefined.
Right.
It took like 30 to 40 seconds for each relation to add itself. It was hell.
Yeah.
And I guess this is going to be even more hell.
Yeah. So Jorn is saying in the chat, he's saying it's very important to set out a list of rules and make a CAD doc like we have for the Fusion project before we start any final work for the MMXT.
Yeah.
Amen. So I believe we should explore the best way to design the parts and make some rules. Amen. So that's kind of what we're doing here, right? We are looking at kind of doing a project, and we were doing that with the Music Box project, by the way. But the Music Box, and that was kind of to start exploring the 3D experience platform. But we do have live files. We do have things that exist in the real world, and I do think the community is a little more interested in the MMX. And so, if we do something like this, for example, if we bring in this part, right? How do we then? How do we look at this? How do we take this and bring it into SolidWorks? Are we going to leave it as an IGES and just be like, hey, these are placeholders, and we could do that, or should we convert them all to native parts?
You could say you bring it as an IGES. Could you, for a second, remove your logo in the top left and open the breakdown of your part currently in your design?
Yeah.
In your part manager.
Let me.
I want to see what it breaks down to.
Actually, I can just make it go away.
That also works.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there.
Bunch
Because
of
if
solid bodies.
you open that up, it's okay. This is very good. Oh, the stream just froze for me. What you can do here is this is going to be laborious. I want to test something. If you like, select the first 8 parts. And right click, because I know it works if you right click one of them. Like if you right click one of them, you can no, you have to do it singular, I think. If you select a single one and right click, you should be able to insert into new part.
Yep.
The one below that. What that does is it just makes a part
you're watching
from
me on YouTube, right?
Yeah, I am.
So I'm going to share within Discord so to get rid of that lag.
Oh, that will be awesome.
Yeah.
Let me see. Then I also don't see your face lagging. So if you just set this in a proper file, because I don't know where it's gonna. It's not saving anywhere. So if you just hit OK right now, it's going to make this a part, and it's going to open it, and then you can save it immediately in the right number.
Ah, interesting.
Hey, can you guys hear me, by the way?
Hey, there you are.
Yeah,
yes.
we can. Hey, David.
Hey, sorry, I just got here. Did this start at 1 or at 2?
Start at 1.
Sorry, I've been screwing around with something else. I thought it started at 2.
No, it's okay. We still love you.
All right. Well, cool. What did I miss? Sorry to interrupt, by the way.
Yeah, no problem. So you missed a lot of audio troubleshooting, which was really exciting. I'm going to make YouTube Rewind next year just for that, I'm sure. And we were chatting philosophically about some of the questions you and I had gone over this last week, the whys of why we're thinking about starting with the MMX Studio version. And then I started asking for concepts about what are we going to do and why. Are you going to be able to hop into Ninja, David?
Yeah, let me put some pants on.
we're not going to see your pants, man. Medium. I'm not wearing pants. But I am wearing shoes.
It is for me or Tim. But anyway, I've got a green screen now. I just bought one. Is that going to help at all, or should I just say forget it?
Well, no, don't, because I'd have to key you out, and I don't want to have to learn new technology while I'm streaming. That's never fun. These guys, I mean, they saw like I couldn't even like enter my passcode for SolidWorks while streaming. It was like 3 minutes of dead air.
Oh wow. Okay. All right.
So
2 seconds.
What we could do is I see that like the whole IGS assembly of only this part. No, this the if you control tab back to the original main.
Hmm.
Oh, you don't know all the shortcuts, do you?
What do you mean?
Ever heard of control tab?
I guess I do now.
Wow, look at that.
Oh,
And
oh.
I'm mostly a Mac guy, so that's Command W.
Um.
No,
Also,
Command W is to
I
change
think I
the
am the only one who has this set up, but I have a keyboard shortcut to Q and E for Q for line and E for center line.
Hmm.
When you're drawing sketches, it's so much faster.
Oh yeah.
Believe me.
Well, I like to use these things right here. The
I
tooltip.
use spacebar.
Well, spacebar is yeah. No, I mean like when you're actually sketching, when you're in a sketch, you get context sensitive views.
You mean hitting S?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, if you hit S, it opens up another thing of content that works. That
Yeah,
one
yeah,
right
yeah.
there.
No, well,
You can
so
customize that one as well.
yeah, so no, what I'm talking about is let's make a sketch, and
On a face, just select a random face
I'm gonna do
from plane. That works.
yeah. So this menu, right? So you have line. And actually, I don't know where you edit this, but I used to have it so I'd have
So if
center
you-
line, I had center box, I had all that stuff set
Yeah,
up.
I use S for this one. S gives you a lot of stuff right here.
All right, so let's
And
see.
your
I
mouse
should
is
have
gone.
David coming in here anytime now.
Wait,
should see me now.
you can edit the same document at the same time?
What do you mean?
Because David is coming in.
Oh no, so video source through OBS Ninja.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there he is. So
Do you have the link to the YouTube stream? Did you send me that or not?
I did. Well, it's in the channel. It's
Oh,
in
right.
the CAD announcement channel.
So hitting S here gives you a lot of stuffs.
Oh yeah, that's okay. Yeah, no, I tend to work with my left hand on my mouse, my 3D mouse.
Oh, you have a 3D mouse.
Yeah, so I like these tooltips a little bit more. When I'm doing Fusion, I do all the keyboard shortcuts. So actually, where is that? Tools. I wonder where you tooltips.
Shortcut is on your gear on the left. All the way on the left, top left. No, it's the drop down inside gears.
Hmm.
So close this one out and then go into customize.
Oh,
And
there
then
you go.
it's keyboard
Mouse gestures. Yeah, baby.
or keyboard.
Oh yeah, I always use the setting on 8 because see how it says 4 gestures
Oh,
right above
yeah,
your cursor. You get a lot more selections. Like I go diagonal usually, but I usually change a couple things on mine.
Yeah. No, this is great. I'm going for 12.
Oh my god, he's going for 12.
The only thing is, it's hard to. I've noticed the more you have, the harder it is to actually like hit the target of like the clock.
Yeah, but
position.
I have a huge monitor right here. I mean, I need to change it because I mean, where's my center point box? I use center point box for everything. And
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
so
can
you can
edit them.
okay, well, I didn't even know where that was. I'm going to do that offline. I'm not going to do that now. Let's get
Also-
So what I was saying is that you could put this part as a placeholder inside of the system,
Mhm.
and then when somebody goes through the laborious process of separating all the solid bodies inside of separate parts, giving them the right names,
Right.
and then putting it all back into an assembly, then you can move that one out, and then you even could. What are you? This is you're still inside a sketch, you know?
I know that. Um,
Okay.
So the question, David, is, do we, as the detailed files get produced by the main CAD team, are we going to be just assembling the IGES files that we import and make our own assembly, or are we going to make a native SolidWorks document for each part?
Well, so right now you're introducing a completely new concept that we haven't talked about yet, which is
right. That's why we're having this conversation right now.
Yeah, so bringing in IGES files from Fusion, interesting.
Well, I mean, because the detailing has happened, right? So I mean, the quick way. Let's say if I were to just pick one of these parts, if I wanted to do it, would be, let's find an interesting
You would have
part.
to exit the sketch. I think you would have to exit the sketch first.
Yeah. So let's take this part, and we're going to save as, insert into new part. Right, and then it would be easy to make a sketch on this plane, and Fusion SolidWorks has clammed up on me now. It would be easy to take this and
remodel it.
Yeah, and remodel it, right? And you could even
just back engineer.
Yeah, or we could
just make a sketch on that plane and convert entities, the inside loops and the outside loops.
Turn off external references, right? Although I don't know why it's being super slow. Sketch.
Well, you know that they have like a reverse engineering.
Yeah, it doesn't really work though.
That's freaking buggy. That's very buggy.
Yeah, I would say it sucks.
Right.
Why is your SolidWorks so slow?
I do not know.
You have to really select the plane, I think.
All right, where do I turn off external references?
What do you need? What do you mean?
Well, so the key here is going to be to not use any external references, right? If I'm gonna convert these entities.
So what you're just gonna want to do is convert entities, the inside loops and the outside loops.
Yeah.
Just select your face, and then afterwards you're just going to delete all relations that you currently have.
Yeah.
Well, there's a way that you can turn it on so that you're not actually adding the relation in the first place. So leave you with a blue sketch, which then you could then constrain.
Right. That feature.
I think it's an option inside convert entities.
I think it might be in assemblies. Actually, what you're looking for.
Oh.
I know what he's talking about, and that usually shows up in assemblies. I mean, it might be under features possibly, but I've only seen that under assemblies.
Hmm.
Now select inner loops.
Yep.
It's
because see now if I
could say display delete the relations.
Where would that
be? If you edit the sketch again, and then there is the big bottom top on the button on the bottom, display / delete relations.
Yeah.
And then delete relations.
Delete all. That's better than what I was thinking. I mean, it would be nice if you could just keep it from creating those relations in the first place.
So, but what the problem is, what you did now, if you look at an isometric view, you see that the plane
I don't care because the next thing here.
But what you would have to do is you would have to make an offset plane from. No, you actually don't, because the part itself can be pointed to the origin. It's not supposed to be in the part where it's in the location going to be of the assembly. So what you could do now is just delete the main body. Just go into solid bodies and delete the main body, or just click right there and click
Yeah, for
delete.
some
That
reason
also
I'm not
works.
seeing delete.
Yeah, you have to see it. Just hit your delete key.
I'm doing that.
Please don't say you don't have a delete key on your
I do have a
keyboard.
delete key.
You
No,
don't?
I don't.
Oh, then
It's just not showing.
Then you could delete the solid body. There's a
So
delete.
just so you know, you're still in a sketch.
Oh,
That's probably.
Oh yeah.
fine.
thank you. I'm just gonna hit delete.
Why
It's
do
funny
you
how
have
your
to
menu
drop
disappears when
down?
it's weird.
There we go.
Jugu, is that how do you pronounce your name, by the way?
Yogo.
Yogo. So welcome to the live stream. Tim, for some reason, his computer, when he right clicks stuff, there's no menu. We don't see anything. I don't know what he sees, but we don't see anything.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
kind of annoying.
The primary display on this machine is a good widescreen, curved, beautiful monitor, and I live stream on another monitor because that has the resolution, the size constraint that YouTube likes, but it's not the primary monitor, and so it's a bug. It's a SolidWorks bug, but.
So what I would do now is hit a move entity key first before I do anything. Move entity. It's in the top bar under mirror entities. When you're editing your sketch.
Oh, well, let me do this. That's the sketch plane.
Now, the sketch plane is correct. The sketch plane is correct because that's from your original plane. So what I would do now is move your entity, and it's the bottom one there, and then Control A, select everything.
Yep.
And then the start point that you have to select it first in your data manager. No. First, you have to unselect the point you just selected because otherwise you can't move it.
There you go.
In the drop in the scroll bar, scroll all the way to the bottom and delete the last point. Yeah, that one right there. Now just select in your start point. Select the
what am I
center
doing?
point
What are
of
you
your
making me
circle
do?
and move it to the origin.
You gotta change the box to start point. There you go.
Yeah, there.
Yeah.
I thought that's what I
Now
did.
you want to grab your center point and move it onto your origin. Oh, you have to zoom out and find the origin. There it is.
There we go.
So that's step one. That's one maybe because we're drawing rules out right now. That's one of the rules. If you have a circular part, let the center axis of the circular part always be in the origin.
Yeah. 100% I agree with that.
Love
so
that.
I'm not sure if you actually moved it though to the origin because if you did, that 80-20 circle should be defined.
Well,
yeah,
it may not.
It is, but he isn't it isn't relation. The relation isn't appearing. I think.
Does he have it?
If you just grab that origin and move it back, there it is, and then in your eyedropper, in the displayed, what's the name of that thing? That's your.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah, so because there's so many different arc things
there it
which
is.
share that center point, I probably grabbed the center point of something else, right? So, I mean, so all of
By
these
the way,
guys,
yeah, you currently
should all be
are
concentric.
displaying.
So I think more than anything else, you're showing the effort involved in doing an IGES import and then trying to recreate it and then reestablishing all your relations is actually not easier than just making it again. I mean, some things might be maybe more convenient.
Well, I mean, we need the original dimensions, right? So
yeah,
you might as well start with
making it again and going back and forth between SolidWorks and Fusion is going to take longer than just back engineering simple extruded parts, because this is just copy, paste, import, fully define, extrude, done.
Yeah.
Instead of actually drawing everything out, because this is just a convert entity and you're done.
Well, so how difficult is it to make this part from scratch? I mean, I'm looking at this, and you're talking about a pretty
Yeah, well,
simple.
it's not, the point is not that it's more difficult. It is just it. What I think, it just takes more time. Actually, drawing out everything and copying it over one line at a time takes more time than hitting two buttons to convert entity scripts and having the part in front of you, only needing to be able to define it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So part of the issue, though, is, I mean, have you ever reviewed other people's parts before?
We have to do that for school, yes.
Okay. Well, I'm pretty sure you know that not everybody gets it right the first time. And,
yeah.
you know, and so you might spend all this time trying to put this thing back into place. Like, okay, cool, there's this part from this other thing, and then you bring it in and something's wrong. And you're sort of removing an opportunity to do it better.
Yeah, well, yeah, like here I'm chasing these slots, right? They came in as lines. They're not slots. SolidWorks works with slots, right? So, you know, I mean, trying to constrain those, it had lost the tangency thing. So it's going to be way easier to put in a slot. The thing, though, David, the reason why I'm thinking we do start with the files is because at least, like, if you were to say, you know, what's the distance between this thing, you click on that and you see that it's a 55 millimeter radius. So I can click on that and I can say this is 55. And
yeah, I mean, yeah, cool, I get it.
Right, so at least you're getting the sizes correct, right? And it's a 9 millimeter slot, so.
Yeah, so you're bringing up another topic, though. Look what you're doing right now. You're making a real slot. Look at the thing next to it. That's not a real slot. There's no center line. So SolidWorks didn't recognize that as a slot. It just looks at it as two arcs connected by two, you know, half circles. And
but that's just going to be some work that needs to be done.
Right, but if we're gonna do this, rather than, because the amount of relations I would have to add to this to make it a slot, you have a tangency relation at each corner.
Yeah,
you have a width.
I know, but like replacing a slot for a slot that's actually a slot, I get that you would replace it, but actually completely redrawing the part if you have it in front of you, that I think that's just.
You know, I'm saying there might be situations where you're right, actually, and I don't discount that, because actually you seem to know quite a bit actually about what you're doing, which is good. I'm saying that it's definitely not universal. I think that there are a lot of cases where we're going to have an opportunity.
There are always going to be edge cases. Edge cases are inevitable. We all know that. We have seen Wintergatan. We have seen his videos. Edge cases are inevitable.
We have experience with this.
Mm-hmm.
But I still think that at all the experience I had, which is only like 2 years of experience, when I discovered the convert entities button, I just let out such a breath of relief from, like, holy shit, how many times have I been overdrawing sketches and not knowing that there is just a single button on doing so.
Yeah.
So you're right. Convert entities can be pretty useful. In fact, they've even upgraded it. You might have noticed there's now a silhouette entities, and that does a similar thing actually, but it's a little bit more.
It's big brainer. Well, as I already said to Tim, yesterday I have spent the time of like 50 minutes, maybe even more. An hour and 10 minutes, an hour and a half. Yeah, let's say 90 minutes of drawing in the basic shape of the frame.
Oh, that's right. You put that post in yesterday. I remember that. Yeah.
I've already sent Tim the files, and we could try right now to import those maybe and see if
I'm not emotionally ready for that. I'm not emotionally prepared for this.
What are you doing?
Huh?
What are you doing?
I am making it so that all of these things are not because if you saw it came in at a weird angle.
Yeah, but I would fix the I would just draw one one dotted center line, a circle from your center point to the same width as your shaft, as your slots. Coincident those circles to those slots on the cross points, and just drag your circle so it's coincident and vertical.
So this might have been a good reason not to delete the original body before you were done. Because as I've told you, well, as I've mentioned, let's say earlier, Tim, it's not a great idea to have a lot of construction geometry. I think, in my personal opinion, I think construction geometry, when you have a ton of it, is kind of a good sign that you're doing something wrong, because there's usually, like, unless it is there for a very specific reason, like, for example, if you're doing an involute curve and you have to define the distance from something to something else, and there's no way to do it other than with that.
Right.
It's necessary to define the distance between the alpha angle and the start of the involute. Like
what I've learned is that relations go before measurements.
Well, there's that too. That is actually a huge piece of wisdom that I agree with completely. I generally use way more relations than I do dimensions. And when I do use dimensions, I almost always pull them from the global variables. That way, the sketch doesn't contain any secret information that I need to find somewhere. It's always in variables.
Let me give you a couple of examples. And this one's recent because it shut down. I'm loading Fusion in parallel here.
By the way, Tim, do you want the SolidWorks dark mode?
Not right now. You need to stop offering me things that aren't what I'm thinking about at the moment.
Okay.
I have ADD, as you could tell by the name of this
I have autism as well.
Okay. So yeah,
we're autism bros.
So this is these are, let's say, if this is a 3-inch, this is a plate. It's gonna be a mounting plate for a piece of T-slotted aluminum, right? And I need to make a pattern of holes, right? I need to make 4 holes. This thing is 3 inches. I need to make 4 holes like that, right? The way I would draw that, like, you could do this with a couple of dimensions. This is 3/4 of an inch there and 3/4 of an inch. Whoops. Right. You could do this with dimensions. Right. And then if you really wanted to not have a whole lot of dimensions, you could, make those vertical to each other. Okay. But this one's going to need a dimension here. Right. 0.75. I'm sorry. This is 1.5. This is the bolt spacing that is standard for the T-slots, the 80/20 3-inch T-slots, and the nuts that you can get with them. They have a 1.5-inch spacing. And then this guy is going to be under that guy, and he's going to be, with this guy, he's going to be horizontal, right?
But it's still going to be blue because it's not connected to your origin.
Right, so now I need to...
And you need a width.
Yeah, so... Well, yeah, that's true. But the way that I make these things, this is about construction geometry, right? The way I make these holes is I will grab the center point there. I'll bring up a line, and then I will do a center point rectangle. Do that, and then I will draw one hole. I will make this construction geometry for construction, and they're equal. I give one of the bolt hole spacings, which is 1.5, and then I tell this that that's also 1.5, which is what it is. Then I could either draw in these things, or I could do a circular pattern around this point that I've created. Of course, I'm having the same thing I had last week. Let's just do it that way.
I think still that the relations are less performance inducing than a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lines.
Well, but you see though that the way I've done it,
It
I
is
only have
faster,
one
I
dimension,
know, but
right? Well, I have two because I have
it is faster.
right. So anyway, so a lot of times I will use construction geometry to avoid having to insert a dimension or multiple dimensions. Because
So,
does that make sense, David?
say again?
Does that make sense? Does that fit with your worldview?
Well, so your spirit is right. Like you've got the right idea. I think your execution is discounting a lot of stuff. That, like, in other words, you're saying, well, I'm trying to avoid putting in dimensions, but by doing that, you're adding all this like extra like lines and circles and stuff. Really,
Right.
all you need to do this would be to find the correct position of your first hole, and then do a hole feature using the hole wizard, and then do a hole or do a linear pattern to do the rest of the holes. And you can get the position of the first one through a formula that takes into consideration everything you just entered, right? So, like, for example, the width, I mean, it's obviously centered on that rectangle, right? So you want to do an offset from the center of the bottom line by half the distance of the spacing, right? And then you use global variables, and then in the end, if you use global variables, you're putting in literally one single point,
right?
And that's all your sketch is, 1 point. And then it might have a couple dimensions, but literally your sketch is a single point and nothing else. And then you just follow that up with a single hole feature, and then you follow that up with a linear sketch pattern as a what do you call it? As a feature. But the other thing you can do, you might not realize that you can edit the whole wizard layout sketch after you've made it.
Yes.
That's what I do all the time.
You have to.
That's the only thing I do.
Yeah. So you can just
when I add the holes, then I hit just OK, and then I edit the sketch.
Yeah, so that's the other way to do it. Is you don't even do a layout sketch at the beginning. You go in, you pop a single hole randomly in that rectangle.
I actually hate that feature. Like, it annoys me that you have to then go in and move that first hole you placed in a not located place.
To be honest, maybe another rule to discuss is when a hole is tapped, when a hole is countersunk, when a hole is something more what do you say, more complicated than just a hole, and has to be of a dimension that's critical. It has to be done with the hole wizard.
Right.
That saves sketches in sketches.
That's true.
And you can easily edit your holes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably the best part, actually. In fact, I use the hole wizard for things you might not even consider. Like, for example, the hub of a wheel, right? You just put a hole there, and then there's a simple hole feature which allows you to dimension it, and you can tell it whatever size you want, and then that lives within the hole feature instead of in a sketch. So So in other words, the Fusion, not to change the subject, but the Fusion model, in the quest to lower the processor load when you build it and all this stuff, there have been some, I would consider, questionable practices, over the years. In the beginning, Martin just tried to start deleting important data, thinking that would get him somewhere, and it got him literally nowhere. And all he did was destroy his own model, and that's the whole reason we're talking right now at all. Really, it's because 4 years ago, Martin said, "Hey, let me try to delete this to fix everything," and literally deleted everything and didn't fix anything. So
are we Are we on this 4 years already?
Yes.
It's actually longer than that, but either way, what I'm trying to get at is in Fusion, in the remodeling process, there have been a lot of questionable things too. Some of which have been successful, some of which have been not as successful, right?
Less successful.
Yeah. On the other hand, in SolidWorks, right? Like we have an opportunity to like know and learn from those things, right? And I think that, like in other words, you trying to save data, and I'm sorry to be critical here, but I think that's kind of why we're here. But
well, no, I mean, we're brainstorming, right? So it's okay to have ideas which end up being like, oh, that was a horrible idea. That's totally fine. Yeah. That's kind of the point.
Yeah. In order to save processing data or processor load, like the idea is that you do want to avoid making your sketches too complicated. That's a fact, right? There's a number of ways you can do that. One of which is lowering the use of dimensions, right? That's a thing. Maybe instead substituting it for relations, that's a thing, right? But there's also like, you can sort of get lost in that process, not realizing that you're actually just making it worse. Like for example, you know, you're okay, well, I have an idea. Instead of making, you know, this from the edge and that from the edge, I'll just do this box and it'll be offset from the middle. But I mean, to be honest, those two examples aren't much different really in terms of like what they force SolidWorks to do to solve that. They're very similar actually.
Right.
And I think it's far better to, instead of trying to consolidate all of your data, right, into, oh, did SolidWorks crash?
No, Fusion crashed.
Oh, Fusion did? Okay. So in order to, consolidating all of your data into a single sketch in order to reduce it to a single extrude, I would consider that like a Fusion 1.0 kind of decision, right?
Yeah, it's better to set things apart in separate
exactly you make them
features than
right
in the one, because
so,
as I built that frame, the sketch of that frame was one 3D sketch. One 3D sketch for the entire frame. You might want to open it so you can just take a look at it. If you don't, then you don't. That's fine. But that sketch maybe consists of how many? Like maybe 20 lines. No. Nah, that's I think about 20 or 30 lines, because it's 4 legs for to, let me see, 29 lines, I think. Is this 29? I think it is. And it was lagging a lot. And I don't say I have a bad PC. I have a okay PC for CAD. It's a i7, 32 gigs of RAM, 1060 GPU. It's a good PC for CAD. And I was lagging with that sketch, and I was using the relations out of the wazoo, but I was still lagging.
Wait, on just the frame?
On just the sketch.
Just the sketch?
Yes. Just adding relations took like 30 seconds. Something was up with my PC, because normally it doesn't do that, but it was lagging. Maybe because this is a 3D sketch, and 3D sketches are more unstable than 2D sketches, but...
So maybe after this video, I'd be interested in seeing what you have, because, you know...
I could start a live stream on Discord.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be interested, because, I mean, just so that you know, going into this, I've made that exact sketch about 25 times.
I was going to say, if you want the champion of drawing the frame.
I mean, because I would love to compare and contrast, because there's, you know, I toyed with doing this in SolidWorks a year ago. I mean, again, that's probably why we're talking in the first place.
We also maybe could get Tim to try and open the file, see how difficult that is.
What did I just say?
Yeah, we're working on this right now, dude. After this video, I might be interested.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
For the reference, D-Man asking about the circular pattern. Yes, I did that. You said that a while ago, and I did the circular pattern. Yeah, so this is the alternate workflow, right? Which is double boxing SolidWorks and Fusion, and instead of bringing the part in, right, just having the detailed part here. I don't know why I can't do these.
Yes. So Tim, what you're doing now is what I would do by default usually. You're in Windows, okay? So you can share the screen by two applications pretty easily if you want to.
Yeah, I know, but for some reason it doesn't like doing that. Like it doesn't like doing it equally. Again, it's probably because it's a smaller resolution.
Has a fixed minimum size.
Does it really?
Yeah.
My computer does that just fine, but I usually go with the left side first with SolidWorks, and then it asks you to select one, for the right side, and then that's when I select Fusion, and then it does it fine. That's weird.
What I've also been thinking is you exported this file as an IGS, right? From Fusion. Could you try to export it as a step?
So step was going to give all of your individual parts as bodies. And did the IGES because IGES is better.
This is also
at dealing
giving
with
us
assemblies.
bodies.
Huh? That's
This is
true.
also IGS is also giving us bodies.
Good
so
catch.
it's the same.
Good catch. Yes. But normally it does a better job of exporting bodies. It might be the way that Fusion, because when you ask for an IGES from Fusion, it like thinks about it and then it sends you an email when it's done thinking about it.
So, for example, the part you have right now in Fusion, that would have to be done in a sketch, and if I see it correctly here, 3 hole wizards.
Yeah, that's how I would build it.
At least one.
It's just 1 extrude and 3 hole wizards, and you're done.
But that would mean that you would actually could recreate the part, but still, like, what I think is when you use the insert into new part feature, what you do is you import a body, but if you then edit the body and you are in the same part file, you're busy in the same part file, so make it an independent part, and in that file redesign the part, then it stays the same file and you're not resaving different parts and copies and doing all types of stuff, if you know what I mean.
Can you clarify? Just I was watching Tim do what he's doing, and I kind of wasn't listening. I apologize. You said
so when you import an IGS into SolidWorks,
okay,
it imports it as one multi-body part. That, for example, this assembly, the drum assembly, has 56 bodies. What you can do is you can separately right-click each body and insert it into a new part. It takes that body and inserts it into a separate part file. You can save that part file to the right PBS code.
Yeah.
And you can re-engineer that part like what we have seen before.
Right. Let me hold up on just a second. I've
never used the hole wizard. I mean, I have, but I don't. Why can't I just make a hole straight through the thing?
Yeah, I get it. You want to select either the top right, which selects a specific hole size, right? That allows you to use a drill of a known size, right? Uh-huh. Or if you're doing a custom one, then it's the one in the middle on the right, which allows you to pick any value. The thing is, if you don't, there you go. This is called a simple hole, and you can make any value by going in that table and changing it. The table just below that. There you go, that table.
Yeah.
So that's the graphic for it, the table below that. There you go. You just change the value there, and then that'll just make the hole whatever size you want it to be.
But I would make that one just a hole, not a simple hole, to be honest. That's also we'll try to refrain from using the custom one.
Well, so it's not custom. That's the thing. Like, you can customize a hole feature from the drill feature, right?
Indeed.
And that's the feature I would say you're right. Don't really do that, because now you're making something custom out of something that was meant not to be custom, right?
Yeah, that's
but
correct.
The other hole,
but
the other hole is very specifically for custom holes, and that's the one I would select.
True, that's correct. You have a point there.
Thank you. Anyway, that's what I would do. I mean, on the other hand, it's also very simple to just extrude a donut. I get it. So, pick your poison. I think.
Yeah, if your hole doesn't matter that it's just a hole, okay. But in the hole wizard feature, you can actually define a tolerance in your hole, because I think that's an actual tolerance, that hole.
Can I do a rotary
now
pattern?
I would just hit OK. Now I just would hit OK, Tim. Wait, what type of hole do you want, by the way? Here, that's the circular. No, what you would do right here is not a circular pattern for your feature. You would do a circular pattern inside of your sketch.
Wait, okay,
so you would,
that's not what Mr. David said to me last week.
So if you open, if you open up that drop down inside of your hole wizard, just cancel out of here.
Hold on a second.
Yeah, this is what I was. This is.
Yeah, this also works, I guess, but.
Yeah, this is kind of what I was touching on earlier, where you can edit the layout sketch of the whole feature. So yeah, I mean, you can obviously do it in here too, like that.
I would grab the origin as your hole position, but if you would cancel out of this, Tim, and then drop down in your hole tool.
You have to
drop down menu. No, not
out of that, Tim. All
right,
there's a caret next to the name of the feature.
You got to tell me what you want me to do instead of giving me the play-by-play as for what you want me to click on.
Okay, so there is a button next to your hole tool, left to it. No, don't right click on it. There's a button next to your icon of hole tool. It's
can I ask you to
arrow
pause?
key.
Yogo, pause for a second. You ready? Okay, Tim.
Yeah.
This would be way easier if you had your feature tree in flat view, because that way it would be visible to you at all times. And I can tell you how to easily change that if you want.
Okay.
I
so
think
you want me to collect these sketches?
Yes.
Yeah, you want to open the top sketch.
The top sketch is the layout sketch of the whole feature. And this is what you can edit.
Okay. This first hole is not concentric. That's funny.
No, that's because that sketch also isn't fixed yet.
Yeah. So that's the I got to that same thing the way I was doing it too. Yeah.
Wait, how can that hole not be concentric? It should be.
Because he selected the hole itself as the middle of it, and it just grabbed the edge of the hole. That's not really what you want to do. If you're gonna
you had to grab the origin.
I would either grab.
I'm gonna use construction geometry to make this all work. How about that, David? Does that make you angry if I'm using construction geometry to make this all work?
Oh my god!
Look, it works. It works.
But to be honest, you could do it with one construction circle.
Yeah, I could. But that's less fun and doesn't make David nearly as angry.
Yeah, this is all kind of a really good reason.
Yeah, this is horrible what I just did. That didn't do it at all.
Yeah, something like that. This is why I like to do patterns of features instead of sketches.
Well, so yeah, that was a discussion we had last week, right?
Wait, you do patterns of features?
Of course, that's what I normally do. You can do it of sketches too. I mean, don't get me wrong, but as long as you're
but I think more that patterns of features are going to break easier than patterns of sketches, because it's contained inside of the one sketch and not inside of two different features. The one thing you want to do is then divided into multiple features. And that
Look at
gets
what
you
I just
into the
said.
parent-child problem.
This, by the way, is why we're doing this in SolidWorks. Look at this horribleness.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like
I
this
hate
thing
it.
got rotated after it got made,
Did-
but if you look at the old sketches, they're still in the old position. I
Yeah.
Yeah, but
hate
did you know that SolidWorks has the similar issue, but it just doesn't show it?
Well, if it doesn't show it, then I don't care.
I actually disagree with that, Yogo. But I'll tell you, Tim. For the most part, you have a point about solid or Fusion not being great in this regard. But second, I'm telling you, this is a perfect example of user error. I don't like that timeline, not because it's long, but because of all the extrudes. I can tell easily that those were done because there's a multi-purpose sketch in there with 10,000 contours in it.
Right there. That's it.
And they went in and extruded one, then they extruded another one, then they extruded another one.
Right.
And then
That's not
that's
how
why
you do, man.
that's
This project is
Vegan?
full of that. It's full of that, and that's kind of why I want to redo this. Right? Is that and it's part of why I don't want to just open up a bunch of IGES files in the MMX. Like, part of me wants it to have native parts, even if it's not. I mean, I don't get paid to do this. I don't know why, but it bugs me that this is how the files are. Right?
Yeah.
As something that I've been involved with for 2 years now. Right? Like, it bugs me that this is what's happening with this.
We're on the same page, bro.
You know,
Believe me.
so I want to fix it.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Yeah.
Martin may not care. He may even be against us doing this, but that bugs me. What we're seeing right here. So
yeah, but to be honest, if we wanna put data in SolidWorks and then completely redesign in quotation marks the studio model we have right now, then you're doing double work, because then you're redesigning the studio model, but we're going to be redesigning everything really when we're doing the the tour version.
Well, so yes and no. Don't get me wrong. I know that what you're saying is coming from the right place, and you're probably. I mean, you have a good point. I've said the same thing to myself 100 times. But actually, Tim and I talked about this last week, and I'll tell you that first of all, it's good practice doing this first.
Mhm.
Second, having a model that's complete and saying, listen, this is the MMX as it exists today in your studio, and it's here in SolidWorks. And I think that's where the redesign should happen. And I think is a very powerful motivator.
To be honest, now thinking about it, sorry that I interrupted you. Continue.
Okay. I think that, I don't really care one way or the other what Martin decides, because Martin Moline is his own man and makes his own decisions for his own life. And that's a legit and valid thing, especially considering that, this is how he makes his living, right? So, I don't have anything invested in it either way. What I do know is that I have a lot to learn, and this is a very good way of getting my experience to the point where I feel comfortable saying that I know enough to be able to confidently say that the next version of the Marble Machine X that you take on tour would be better off if I were personally involved and we did it in SolidWorks. Because right now, I mean, honestly, I do know a lot, don't get me wrong, but I don't know that I can say that honestly, because especially because of what's happened in Fusion in the last year. They took a turd. I mean, really a pretty awful model that was just about tired and sick. And now look at what Andre and the team has done, right? They've got moving linkages. They've got a fairly robust model. There are questionable process decisions they've made along the way. Believe me, I know that part. But they've made huge improvements, and honestly, I don't feel like I have any right, to tell them that they're doing it all wrong over there. Because honestly, while I disagree with, what they're doing.
The endpoint the endpoint for that project, right, is different. It's almost they're trying to take the path of least resistance to get to something that Martin wants, right? And that's it. I'm going to pattern this. Sorry. And they're really just trying to, get it so that, sorry, I can't talk and cat at the same time. Get it so that it's manageable, and we've worked as many bugs out of it as possible, right? That project is not about doing it right the first time. It's not. Right. No, it's just
about getting something there,
getting it to a stage where it's no longer so effing broken, and that's it, right? So, so here we have what attracts me to this as a concept is we have an ability to say, hey, if you were to do it right, if you were to dream to do it right, how would you do it, and what would that look like, and that's what we're talking about.
Yep.
Right. So
I agree with that.
But just as a thing I want to throw into the conversation here, like if we go for the copy quotation marks of the entire MMX CAD model we have right now into SolidWorks, and we could get Martin so far to switch over to SolidWorks and design his new parts inside of SolidWorks, we could completely migrate over.
Yeah, we could.
How well do you know Martin Moline?
That's what I was going to say.
I have announced myself as the chess teacher of SolidWorks to him, so I'm as Tim Keller has said before just a couple minutes ago, I'm not a certified pro SolidWorks user with everything done and dusted. I have just spent 2 years of my life, maybe 2 hours a day or more, working in SolidWorks and just loving the program once I got it.
Well, you're speaking my language. I have a similar story, although it's much longer than that. But
as I have said last night, somebody were asking things about my experience.
That was me. I asked you how long you've used it.
And Nuix, aka Elliot, he was asking more questions. And when I'm currently in school, I'm currently following a study, and that study gives me access to a SolidWorks license. Okay. So before I had that license, I used Fusion. And the first thing I hated when I switched over from SolidWorks to Fusion, from Fusion to SolidWorks, is that when you open a sketch and draw a line, you can't immediately add a dimension to said line. But right now, after the time, no, that's in SolidWorks that you can't immediately, when you draw a line in Fusion, it immediately pops up for you to give it a measurement.
Yeah, you can set SolidWorks to do that too.
But that it doesn't do that right now, that's what I love. For you just to be able to draw roughly what you want and dimension it later, and seeing when it's undefined and defining it later, and how they do relations. I know Fusion does the same, but just the way that SolidWorks works in features and in just a little different than Fusion. I really love SolidWorks more than Fusion. I don't think.
Well, welcome to the club.
Martin has ever tried SolidWorks.
I don't know one way or another if he has or not. I can tell you that he's a Mac person, and so am I actually. But
as am I.
I think that, so that's like the number one obstacle. In fact, the reason I was late to this meeting, frankly, I didn't realize it was at 2. And by the way, anyone I told it was at 2, I apologize. I'm
1.
That's why we had that huge spike in viewers when you came in.
But anyway, the reason I was late was because I was working on trying to get SolidWorks installed on my M1 Mac Mini. It's just giving me a whole bunch of problems because they just updated Parallels to 16.5. It's now native to Mac M1. And as of yesterday, Microsoft just updated their remote desktop client to natively work on M1, which tells me that Microsoft, I think, probably is dedicated to making Windows work on the new M1 Macs. And I would say probably sooner than later, it'll be native. And that's a huge game changer. And I'm really hoping that SolidWorks work on it. But right now I'm having some big problems just with installation itself. So anyway, that's what I was screwing around with.
One of my best friends, David, is like you. He will find equipment problems that no one else has, and he will obsess about them. And like like when we played paintball, when we'd go scuba diving, it's like, oh, Peter, you're having equipment problems. How I couldn't have thought that would actually happen to a nice guy like you. Anyway. That's you. It must be genetic or something.
It's probably genetic.
Back to the higher level discussion here. So I actually think that the process of importing. Now I'm saying this as a statement, and I'm inviting you guys to challenge it. The process of importing stuff into Fusion is not a good idea. If we want
to into SolidWorks
Yes, into SolidWorks from like a Nigis file, like I was just doing, right? Because the bodies are all messed up. When you convert the geometry, it's not constrained the way you want. Slots aren't going to be there. You can't use the hole size. I like the idea of using a hole wizard because you can then just edit the kind of hole or add a countersink. I like that, right? So this workflow where I've just been going into the Fusion file, isolating the part that I'm looking at, selecting it to measure it, like, oh, that is a 35 millimeter radius circle, It's a little hard when you want to try to find these bolt sizes. I had to make a sketch to try to find, that arc. But I think that's actually better. And then we can just, use this as reference and then make it to our CAD standards rather than importing something, making sure you don't do the relations, protect the geometry. It's going to be bad that way.
Yeah,
I already have 2 bodies in this part right now.
Okay, yeah. So I was gonna say that's a separate issue, but yeah, I've realized I'm doing a multi-body part here. This needs to be an assembly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this needs to be an assembly indeed.
Right. Yeah. So I'm not going to save this. I'm going to
wait. Okay, back up a second. Why does this need to be an assembly?
Because each of these are individual parts,
and they need to be saved separately.
Okay.
Yep.
So the assembly is going to be much bigger than what the stuff you see in front of us, right?
The assembly is going to be, this thing. Unisolate. Where is it there? That's the assembly.
Okay. That is legit an assembly. Okay.
Yeah.
Say three little plates bolted to each other. I would not call an assembly.
No, exactly. But I'm saying like this project, recreating this rhythm beater, this is going to be an assembly. Yeah. And so we would open up this assembly. We would save it. This is 1206, right? We would save it over there, and we would make the parts. We can, have set up SolidWorks to automatically assign part numbers to each part, and we don't even worry about it. And that's it.
Jeez, I didn't even know that.
Yep. That's through the SolidWorks connected thing. They can have you can have part number assignment
I don't
standards.
Use that myself.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's going to be the workflow, David. Is that we just open up, we dual box it. We look at it, in Fusion and SolidWorks at the same time. I'm hoping the people who are working on this can do that.
Yeah, I do think that having 2 CAD systems running at the same time is pretty performance demanding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so maybe you have one open on a different machine, or Yeah.
What I did, by the way, of drawing the frame is I used the web viewer for Fusion.
Mm.
It's not
That's not a
ideal, but
terrible
it works.
I can have Fusion and SolidWorks open on my laptop absolutely fine. It works absolutely fine for me. It's not even a big
Yeah,
deal.
Fusion on your laptop, okay, but running SolidWorks and
Yeah, Fusion and
at the same
SolidWorks.
time.
No, it's fine.
Yeah, I've done that plenty of times.
SolidWorks complains a bit with it's like, oh, lack of resources things, but like,
I don't know why it's even doing that for me, because it does that for me. I have 32 gigs of RAM, and it's never above 60%.
Yeah, it's really weird.
So, I want to say thanks for your input, Yogo. You've your participation here is appreciated. So just but what were we doing, Tim?
We were. I mean, all I really wanted to do today is play with. Well, you were going to show us your involutes, right?
Oh, right.
And we were going to talk.
Right.
And we were going to talk about best practices for like how, or at least just brainstorm how we're going to do this MMXS import into SolidWorks. And I think we've talked through a lot of the issues there. I think we,
Yeah.
Now this is interesting. In the web viewer, you can get all that stuff. Look at that. Although it's not showing me what the actual measurement is.
Yeah, the web viewer it works, but I think you have to take it from the center and then.
Yeah, if I wanted to say what's that
from
diameter,
the center and then move. I mean, take it from the outside and then go to the outside again.
The Fusion web viewer has never really had a very good reputation. It's kind of always been bad. I don't know if they've improved it much, but I mean, it's been.
Well, at least Fusion has got a web viewer.
Yeah, it's well.
Well, there's
anyway.
Yeah. The SolidWorks is not that they have like e-drawings or whatever. And this is kind of useless.
Well, so maybe that's maybe another option is to just import the IGES into something like eViewer instead of another instance of SolidWorks. Can SolidWorks Connected have two windows of SolidWorks Connected open at the same time?
Yeah. Well, not instances, but you can have multiple files open, right? I mean, I have all these things, and actually, the other thing we could do, let's say if I file.
That's a different thing. So you can open SolidWorks twice and have two different windows, each having SolidWorks open, and that way you can have two windows of two parts.
You know that SolidWorks has a double monitor mode, right?
Yeah, you can do that too. I think you can split them apart.
Yeah,
because you can you can tab the things apart and then have multiple windows open.
You can, but that is a different thing than what I'm talking about.
Well, yeah, but I mean, the problem we're talking about here is what if you don't have the computing horsepower on your machine to have Fusion and SolidWorks open at the same time, right?
Right, well, that's what I'm trying to explain. If you open the IGES in a second instance of SolidWorks, then you don't have to run Fusion at all.
But if you open the IGES inside of SolidWorks, you could just back engineer with convert entity.
Okay, I'm talking about taking a model to look at it, to take measurements from it while you make another one. So I'm saying, say again?
iDitch just did it. You click on window at the top and then there's new window and then it just opens up a second instance of SolidWorks.
Yeah. So you run two instances of SolidWorks. You don't want to run the dual display version or the tiled version. I'm talking about two menu systems. Everything's doubled. So that way, again, you can look at one part and design another one without having to switch between them. They just are both open natively, right? And I think that's the best way personally, unless you do it this way too, like what he's doing now.
This is what I was thinking, is that, we could also just use the hey, look, I could actually,
Yeah, see, there you go. I like that.
Yeah, but that's a minimum distance. That's not the right one.
yeah, I know, but I'm sure I can figure it out. Like if we,
Well, what I think is that with all the how do you say
what's that?
I'm hanging on the
words,
edge of
they're
my seat,
hard, I
bro.
know.
I know.
So we might want to have multiple ways of doing so, because one, you can take it from Fusion.
Right.
Two, you can take it from imported IGS. IGS.
I just, yeah.
Never mind.
Yeah. At the end of the day, I don't actually care how we do it.
No, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. But I do, as
If
long
the
as
rules are the
it's
same.
possible, right? I think as long as the result is that we have native SolidWorks features in each part, right? We have assemblies that have the standards of, kind of what we're talking about, right? How you, and as long as the sizes are right, right? As long as everything lines up. But that said, the best way to check and make sure everything is the right size would be to bring in the IGES and overlap them and look for deviations.
Mm-hmm. That's, by the way, that's very easy to do. That's just when you have a assembly finished, just import the IGES into the assembly and overlap it. And if something doesn't, and if the IGS pops out, then it pops out, and then something is wrong.
Whoever did this, I love this model, but I don't
how
like.
in the world did you draw those strings?
Yeah, and I don't know why they're arced, but it's pretty awesome. I think that's a 3D a really hairy 3D sketch, and a lot.
I think Martin spent a lot of time on that.
No, that's not Martin.
Too much time.
This was somebody else. This was one of our GAT team members who did this.
I mean, that does not look that crazy of a thing. It's nice, don't get me wrong, but I don't know if I would.
What's crazy is knowing how hard 3D sketches are in Fusion, and the thought of doing that with a 3D sketch in Fusion is irritating to me.
Yeah,
I think it's just in the 2 years I've been CADing, I've always been afraid of splines.
Right. If you want to look at some real magic, look at the microphone holder that's inside the frame. I think it's probably for one of the symbols. I'm not really sure, but it's a really nice part. I like when I saw it for the first time in the Fusion model, I just thought, okay, whoever made this clearly knows what they're doing, and it was just really nice to see.
So hey, it's we got 15 minutes left. David, do you want to share with us your Involute stuff, your gear stuff?
Sure. Yeah. Let me open SolidWorks here, and then I can share with you in a second. I actually had a crash earlier and some issues. So
I'm shocked, David.
In fact,
I think I maybe had one crash ever. No, I don't even think I even ever had a crash. Oh.
So you're the one.
Never had a crash.
I've never had a crash in SolidWorks.
Good for you.
You're lucky.
I think so.
Good for you, you lying
Knock
son
on
of a
wood.
bitch.
Knock on wood. Yeah, maybe one or two or so, but I guess maybe I had one when I was drawing the tennis racket.
We had several, just like in the first live stream we did. All right, I'm getting rid of this thing.
We lost Lund. I was really interested in. Darn it. Well, okay.
What?
Does anybody want to pipe in, by the way, while my SolidWorks? Any comments, criticisms, concerns?
Was it the hi-hat machine mic holder you're talking about?
Oh yeah, it is. It's the symbol for that goes behind the hi-hat machine.
Yeah, that was cool.
So maybe in the
in
meanwhile you
Discord,
could
Tim
try and
and David.
open. Oh,
Yoran has
ahead.
put something in Discord for you.
Who did
SolidWorks has
what?
to compare geometry feature, so you can compare the imported step to a new part made from scratch. In Discord.
Where is that posted?
Music books.
Okay.
Great. Okay. Maybe one more.
Sorry to
well,
interrupt,
no.
but Tim,
Go ahead.
you said we only had 15 minutes left.
Yep.
Yeah, I was just filling stuff for you.
I don't know
before.
that I have time to sketch out an
That's fine.
entire involute.
Oh, I thought you had something like done and you were going to show it off.
Well, I mean, that's clearly what I have to do now. I was going to actually make one from scratch on video.
But why don't you grab the toolbox gears?
Because I don't think we have the toolbox.
I have a
connected.
toolbox. I can just grab gears in involute patterns. Yeah, you have the toolbox.
I don't think I have gears.
So-
You have gears. Go in ISO, power transmission.
Yogo,
ISO is the second
Yogo,
one on.
Yogo,
Yeah.
I appreciate your income, or I appreciate your input, but that's not what we're doing right now. I'm making a gear.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I will
David had done it
just-
manually. We're interested in seeing how he did it. That's the
Like, I appreciate your input and I appreciate your presence here. I'm glad that you're here, but we're actually we're kind of directing the show here. I don't know what to tell you
Sure.
otherwise.
No, totally get it. I get it. I'm known for overreacting. So yeah, I will.
I'm about to
just
start
begin.
broadcasting, so if you want to
So
see
yeah,
that.
put it up and we'll see. So yeah, when we first started, when we first got SolidWorks connected, the toolbox was not part of it. We didn't have those features at that point. We do now, and we just proved that. So
So we do have a toolbox.
we do have the toolbox, yeah. And
Oh, that's good.
let's see.
Okay, why am I not switching screens? There we go. Okay, do you see my windows up yet?
Yes.
Okay.
I can see it on Discord. It's just come up on YouTube, yeah.
Do you have
Oh
a
my
4K screen on your side, David?
I'm sorry. What was the question?
Do you have a 4K screen?
I do.
I see. It's so small.
Yeah. So
I'm having SolidWorks crashes right now. I am not entirely certain what's going on here right now.
Maybe you want to boot SolidWorks from SolidWorks itself and not from the platform.
I just did that.
but when you have the platform, well, actually, David got them to give him regular SolidWorks, but when you have the platform, there's no other way to do it. Which is
Okay, so I'm gonna have to. Okay, so just to be clear, last night I had a SolidWorks crash, and I was just opening it before this video started, and I couldn't. And then I restarted Windows while we were talking, and now I'm getting it crashing again. So I am definitely, this isn't gonna work for me right now.
All right,
Sorry.
we'll save it for next week. That's fine.
Yeah, my fault. I'm not really sure what's going on right now. So,
Oh wait, this is Apple. Psych.
So, yeah. Oh, I know why. You know what? Never mind. I can't start Windows under remote desktop. I have to be native so that my computer is separate. If I do that,
we're gonna be done here in 9 minutes anyway. So let's save it for next week, David. Anyway,
Okay.
so because otherwise we're gonna rush, and I'm interested in all that stuff.
So what we could do in the last 9 minutes is start up a Google Doc about the CAD rules in SolidWorks.
Yep. So we have that. So this one. I've started one. I sent it to David. Let's see. It's really basic. I will share that. This is it right here. I will share this with the team. Copy link, and I'll put that in CAD team.
It's an editable link you just copied.
Yeah, I know.
Oh wait, you're
Everyone
making this
can
public?
edit.
Well, I was going to offer it to other people on this team who are interested in it.
Oh, okay. I mean, okay. Oh well,
You
actually,
think I
got
shouldn't?
SolidWorks.
Huh?
I got SolidWorks to work now. Sorry to change the
I'm just
subject.
gonna DM it to you. You go. Should be there. But anyway, so the we need to figure out kind of what that workflow looks like, and it's obvious so far that it's going to be different than how we were doing it with Fusion, which is fine. It just needs to be best practices, and
Right.
Last week I started doing something the way we had discussed to do stuff in Fusion, and people were yelling at me. I'm like, okay, well, I need to unlearn that habit then, and that's fine. That's the purpose of going through and doing all this stuff. So,
Right.
that's fine.
Okay. So if you want, you can. I've got the gear open now.
Oh,
I don't think people on stream will be able to read because I'm having difficulty.
Okay, let me try
Oh,
something.
that's me.
oh, it's okay.
Oh, I can't scale when I'm in a remote session, unfortunately. So that's why.
David can't
But,
just
I mean,
use his computer straight. He's got to telnet, bounce it off a satellite, go out to Akron, Ohio, do a microwave beam transmission, tight beam across the river, bounce it off a satellite truck into a cable modem, into one of those modems where you put the phone on the receiver things, and then come back to his machine.
Just for fun, I want to see what you guys are seeing because, frankly, so I got to do it on my my iPad so I can actually see this.
Yeah, why just not buy a PC?
Well, he has a PC, but he wants to drive it through his Mac. All right, so
Okay.
let's sum up, and because David, I don't want to short you, and I have a bunch of stuff to do today, so let's just end this thing on time, and save the gear stuff for next time. We'll get all the resolution stuff ironed out.
Yeah, that's
So
not a
when is
problem.
just for I don't know what the schedule is, but when is the next meeting about this?
So to be clear, so this is not a sanctioned Wintergatan project, right? This is, we, David and I approached SolidWorks. David started it. I took it across the finish line about getting a sponsorship last summer, and it got approved last fall. Martin is not emotionally, theoretically, intellectually ready to embrace SolidWorks. He wants to focus on finishing the machine, and we agree. So that said, now that Martin took, come and is directly involved with the CAD team, it doesn't need me to run it anymore. That was kind of like his intermediary. So he's just working with Maureen, and I was looking for something else to do. I know David was super interested in this project when we started it, so David's doing it with me now too. We're trying to not divert any attention away or resources away from the main CAD project. This is just a few of us doing this in our spare time, and I'm just doing this live stream on Fridays on this channel for those of you who are interested, who are more interested in working with SolidWorks. And the intent and what we had discussed with Martin is that when we design the touring version, that's going to actually, that effort will include actual holes with tolerances and being able to do detailed manufacturing. Actually, you can do that in Fusion, but it's going to be a more detailed assembly, and we want the whole thing to be able to work the way most people design machines. And
So
it's going to be in SolidWorks.
And what the end goal may be is that you can just print out an entire drawing package and just say to a production company, here you go, see you back in 6 months, and then you walk back in 6 months and you have
Potentially
a completely completed marble machine.
Yeah, potentially.
Well, I don't know if it's quite like that, but I mean, the idea is that it's built using traditional manufacturing standards in terms of like how
Indeed, yeah.
product data is
So,
right.
Speaking
And
about,
there's all these things like we want the gears to mesh appropriately, right? Which means that the sketches need to be driven by math rather than a bunch of small arc segments, or it's just, you know what I mean? So it needs to be, and if you're going to say, hey, these things need 5 thou of clearance between them so they can be fitted together, I don't think Martin has ever put, a tolerance clearance, a clearance tolerance into a part.
By the way, what I'm just now wondering is, to what standards are we going to uphold? First of all, are we going to go metric or are we going to go imperial?
I don't know, David. I think David loves imperial.
Sure, it's better.
Yeah.
It's way better. Imperial is just how the world is run.
Yeah,
so that's how we're going to do it.
No.
I think for weight standards, we were going to use human baby heads for weight and mass. For length, we were going to use Bic pencils as our length unit.
Oh, I thought my pinky finger.
Yeah, and for velocity was going to be chipmunk speeds. The average speed of a chipmunk is our standard unit. Yeah. No,
well, we haven't really settled on chipmunks or actually hamsters, because they're so similar.
But the speed difference, is huge. So it's a valid question. No, David is the most extremely pro-metric person I know, and he has brought me along with him. It's going to be all metric.
Okay, so if we are going metric, are we also going ISO standards?
If we can.
Because
what else would we pick?
Because that would mean you're dealing with module gears. And
yes, it's going to be module gears.
Pitch.
I think you're onto something, I think you're onto something. In fact, what you're looking at, if it's still on YouTube, and it looks like it is, I think you might be pleasantly surprised.
Yep.
Is this moduled?
Yes.
I think you might be pleasantly surprised.
Yeah. So let's just tie it up and leave it there, because I think we'll get into gears with David next week. And I think we answered.
David, before you pull off, I'm gonna send you an FR so I can show you the frame after the stream.
Cool.
Yeah, that's fine. I'd love to take a look. No problem. Just offline.
Yep. All right, guys. Thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks, both of you guys, people watching on YouTube. I think we. We'll see you next week, if not before then, somewhere on the Discord server.
Sounds good. And I'm gonna have to watch the beginning of this because I missed it.
It was painful. It was painful. If you just hate yourself, then watch it. It's like, where's David?
A lot of
silence. Yeah, it was pretty bad. All right, guys. Have a good week.
Why can't you hear me?
Yeah.
See you next week.
Yep.
GG boys, see you round.